including Phillip in Naples, Florida, who has some kind of question. I'm not completely sure I understand this, or the call screener did, about the absence of God paradox. What's going on, Phillip?
Yes, hello, Matt. I'm very honored to be able to speak to you, and I suppose it's Jen that's with you. Hello?
Hi, I'm Jenna.
Yes. Oh, nice to meet you, so to speak, over the phone. Yeah, I'll come back perhaps to the previous guest, because there's a lot of things that were said that were very interesting. I wanted to be brief, so I just said that I wanted to talk about the absence of God paradox, because in my humble opinion, it's one of the foundations of atheism. And I can try to explain it to you in short length of time, because I'm probably limited.
There's a foundation to atheism?
I'm sorry?
There's a foundation to atheism?
Well, yes.
I'm also confused with how can you just describe this absence of God paradox? Because it's not making sense, and it's even making less sense now.
Of course, it's a contracted type of explanation. The main thing, in my opinion, is that with atheism, we don't believe there's a God. And if there is no God, there are some consequences to that. The first consequence is that there are no divine laws. And if there are no divine laws, there are no sins. Because as a definition, a sin is the breach of a divine law.
Phillip?
And if I may kind of
Phillip?
Explain it schematically.
Phillip?
If God exists, the first thing he did was...
Phillip, I muted you for a second because I think we're having a hard time getting through. I'm going to unmute you now. We'll see if that's working.
Hear me better now?
Well, the thing is that you couldn't hear me. I was trying to ask a question because if there is no God, then there's no divine laws. I agree. That's not a paradox.
No, it's the absence of God paradox. If there is no God, there's automatically a paradox in the sense of it's contrary to religious philosophy.
Sure. Okay. No. Okay. Now, yes, if there is no God, religions are wrong. So what?
Yes.
That's not a paradox. If there is no God, there's no divine law, no sin, religions are wrong. That's just like saying if there's not a fire in the fireplace and the person who imagined there's a fire in the fireplace is wrong. That's not a paradox. So I'm not quite sure what you're getting at.
Well, I might not be using the proper word, but I think you can understand what I'm getting at in the sense that religion is based essentially on the guilt forever syndrome. God made laws. Man is imperfect, therefore he's going to break the first law. He didn't.
No. You seem to be using a lot of words in kind of problematic ways. First of all, religion isn't one thing. There's not just one religion, and they don't all have the same model. There are religions that don't have a model that matches up at all with what you're talking about men sinning against God. So it seems that you're just talking about a particular subset of it.
Talking about scriptural religions.
No. So there are scriptural religions that aren't just Abrahamic religions that don't have the same notion that you're talking about. Religion is too broad of a term to fit the narrow box you're trying to stick it in.
All right. Well, then let's reduce it to Christianity if that makes it easier.
Sure.
Do you mind if what are we getting to?
Yeah.
I'm trying to establish some fundamental elements of atheism, because very often when we're talking about atheism, we get ourselves pulled in to discussions on dead-end elements, and
I would argue that that what you're describing is actually more convoluted and making it worse. Atheism is I am not convinced there's a God. That's it. Everything else is something else.
Yes, but then also as an atheist, I'm not proving that there is no God.
Correct.
And I'm not even going to discuss the existence of a God.
Why not?
Because it's irrelevant.
It's not irrelevant. That's the whole issue, Phillip. That if theists believe there are a God and atheists do not believe, if theists believe there is a God and atheists do not believe there's a God, then the existence of God is the whole fucking ball game.
Well, yes, in a sense, but it's if you're going to discuss the existence or the non-existence of God, you're losing from the very start, because there's no way you can prove that there is one.
No,
there's
you're
no
not. I'm sorry, Phil. I'm sorry, Phil, but you're not losing from the very start. The point is not to prove there is no God. The point is to show that there is not sufficient reason to believe in a God.
Yes, but my point is, whether there is a God or not, it's irrelevant to the essential question. And the essential question is, does religion, any religion, and more specifically perhaps...
They don't agree with that. I don't
fucking agree with that. I think that, so the whole question, as I pointed out, with regard to theism versus atheism, is one of whether or not you accept that there is a God. Religion is the thing that is irrelevant to this question.
Yes, I understand your point, but hear me out for a moment. If religion does not know a God, if religion does not communicate with a God, it's as if there was no God. So the question is not, is there a God or is there not a God? The essential question is, does religion know it's God?
No, you're wrong. No. You're wrong, and you're wrong on so many levels. It's difficult. You're like fractally wrong. Religion isn't a thing. It's not a person. It doesn't have an interaction with. You're using religion as if it's, hey, does religion know there's a God? No, religion doesn't know anything, because religion is an abstract construct that is a description that we put on things that people do on behalf of whether or not there's a God. When it comes to theism and atheism, the only issue that matters is there good reason to believe that a God exists? That's it. Religions are irrelevant to this.
Yes, okay, but actually religion is going to base its arguments on its scriptures.
Religion doesn't make arguments, people do.
Yes.
People aren't religion.
I understand that, but
no,
nevertheless...
You don't understand that, because you just said religion bases their arguments.
Well, they have to base it on...
No, religion doesn't make arguments. Religion isn't a thinking agent. This is what I'm getting to with the precision of language. You are being incredibly sloppy when you say religion has to base their arguments on something. No, no, no. People make arguments. People have beliefs. Whether or not those are warranted is the entire question. And so if people believe there's a God and they can't meet that burden of proof, then belief isn't warranted. And what religion it is doesn't matter. And what other religions may have within their theological constructs doesn't matter. You know, if a religious group believe that two people of the same gender having sex is wrong, that's still what people believe based on something. And ultimately, it gets down to the foundation that those people are pointing to what they think a God believes, and they can't demonstrate it.
Yes. Well, in
fact, religions believe different things. There are different kinds of religions that do different kinds of things. Some have, you know, there are very different kinds of religions, right? You get that, right?
Oh, absolutely. So I'm focusing more on scriptural religions, because they always refer to the scriptures.
Which scripture? See, here's the thing. Even though we literally 5 minutes ago just went through and pointed out how you're once again being sloppy by saying scriptural religions, and then you said, well, let's just deal with Christianity, which, by the way, there's thousands of denominations that identify as Christian as well.
Absolutely.
So yes. Why do you
one of the actions of the religion?
Okay.
Let's take, for example, a person that's religious. And
which religion? Which religion?
Religion is a dogma that's
No. I said which religion. You said, let's take a person who is religious. And I said, which religion?
Let's take Christianity, for example.
Okay, so we're talking about a person who identifies as a Christian. Continue.
Yes. And if I ask them, how do you explain that your religion is true? Or how do you explain that you believe in that specific God rather than another one?
I thought you said about the existence of God were irrelevant.
Yes, but I'm trying to figure out why they have this argument.
And so you're asking them about their argument for the existence of God.
So I think that he's not trying to figure out why did you, what is the answer? He's trying to figure out, why did you come up with this question? Is that kind of what you're saying? You're trying to figure out why they think that they have an answer in the first place?
Well, yes, I'm trying to analyze their point of view, their argument.
Right. We're doing that same thing.
And okay, it starts that I have somebody who's insisting on the fact that Christianity is true because the resurrection, for example, is the authentication of Christianity.
I'd much rather pass on this call and go on to talk to actual Christians so that I can ask them a question, because you've bounced back and forth trying to say that a discussion about the existence of God is irrelevant when I say that's the whole issue, the one and only issue. And then when you get to let me question a Christian, you're essentially asking them, why do you believe there's a God? The thing that you said was irrelevant.
I see your point.
Okay. I'm going to go ahead and move on to some theist callers and stuff and see if maybe we can answer some of those questions or talk about them. But
thanks for calling, Phillip.